Alright guys, this is the one y'all been waiting on. Y'all want to see this wire net get finished up. One reason it took us so long is just life happened. The other reason is I had to hand knit all of this webbing. I've tied every knot in this webbing right here. I've showed how to do that in some of the other videos, so to shorten this video up, we just went ahead and tied that net out in my spare time, which I haven't had very much of. I'm going to show y'all real quick, also, another thing that I went ahead and did, and I don't want to cover this too much in the video, was after I put this throat in here and tied it out, in part one, I decided that I wanted this basket to be longer, just for capacity reasons. The basket originally was right here, and it would have caught fine. There's no problem. Blue cat, channel cats would have went in there, got in here, and it would have held a lot of fish, don't get me wrong, but I just thought it'd look better if there was more room in here between the back of the net and the second throat, the catch throat. And thought it'd be a little bit more capacity. This net would load up with big catfish. So all I did was took another piece of cattle panel and welded onto this one and kind of bent it, shaped it as I went, and welded it out all the way around and welded it to the end right here. And of course, sanded all this off and everything where it wouldn't cut you or scrape you. But this is all just welded together with a regular AC/DC welder, and fixed up, just stick rodding. Cattle panel, don't forget, is very expensive. I say very, they're not terribly expensive, but you know, enough cattle panel to build one of these, you're basically gonna cut up the better part of a panel to build one of these. So you're looking at 24, 26 bucks, whatever that is. But over reinforcement wire, this is probably a lifetime net right here if you don't get it stolen or lose it. So it'll last a lot longer, and it's not gonna crush. I mean, you can grab this one, pull it over the side of the boat, probably roll it over the side of the boat, no problems. So it's gonna be a little bigger than we originally talked about, and you can see I had to do some figuring. I'm gonna go over how much netting and all of that, and I hope this one fits. I have actually not even tried this over it yet, so we're gonna see. If I don't have quite enough webbing at the tail section, I'll end up sewing a little extra on. So I've got my needle here. To finish this out, I'm gonna need needle. I'm gonna need some number 18 twine. You could use bigger if you wanted to. But this will more likely be fished in a lake. I might fish it some in the river to see, but it shouldn't be rolling around a lot like a hoop net would, so I'm not that worried about using bigger twine or the twine getting cut on here. If it does, we're in trouble anyways. So enough about that. This is gonna be 1.5 inch mesh. I just, by looking at it, think that that's 1 mesh, 2 mesh and a half. I think about 2.5 mesh or either 2 mesh is gonna make this throat up here. I'm not real sure. So we're gonna have to kind of play with that here in a few minutes. See how big around or how big square we want this front throat. So to start off with, I'm gonna make me a loop. And that's gonna be our square, the front throat. And all I'm gonna do there is I'm gonna hold the end of this and I'm gonna run this needle through all of these mesh. So I've got my line run through all of these loops here, and I just want to estimate like how big my opening, my square up here is gonna be. And I want some, you know, pretty good sized catfish to be able to go through there. And I'm gonna say something like that's probably gonna be plenty big enough. So I'm gonna take And just like I said, you can just hold that kind of a square and you're estimating how big your mouth's gonna be right there. So I've got that, and all I'm gonna do here is just tie me a knot right there, and that's gonna be our opening, or line for our opening right there. And we can adjust that if we need, so I'm not gonna pull that crazy tight, but I am gonna go ahead and leave a little bit of slack right back here and burn these off. So I'm just gonna take my lighter here, and no, I don't smoke. But I probably will burn myself though, for sure. It ain't gonna be the first time. Okay. So there we go right there. Like I said, I'm gonna leave some slack right now in case I want to adjust that some once we see what it looks like. Alright, so we're gonna start out. Now this is hand knitted, so it's not factory webbing, so I want to keep this webbing actually pretty tight. Don't want to be moving it around too much, getting those knots loosened up. So all we're gonna do is, and it's gonna be hanging up over here every time I turn around, but we're gonna work this webbing, the barrel, down over this wire. Got a pretty good hanging spot right here. Keeps hanging, won't hang up on. We're just gonna work it down over the wire. Now, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm gonna try to lean it over just a little bit. Let me pull this on down out of the way first. Put the skirt on it. Alright, looking good. Looking good for somebody that don't know what they're doing here. Alright, so if y'all can see right here, now we got to figure out, okay, is this going to be 2 mesh or is it going to be further? I had estimated about 2.5, which would put us tying this right here, like so, all the way around, and then tying this back on some corners. But I'm looking at it right here, and I just don't know. I think I want a little more taper on that, so I'm gonna go 3 mesh. So that's 1, 2, and 3 to like right there is what I think I'm gonna do.
Hello, people.
Alright, now we talked about some of the other videos that it always seems to do good to stay with anything that 8 will go into. So we got 40 mesh, 8 will go into that 5 times, so that gives us, we got 8 squares around, so that's going to give us 5 mesh between each one, like we sewed our front throat on in the part 1 video. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that keeps us even all the way around this, so we don't have this net pulling one side or the other. So what I've decided is I'm going to use 3 mesh on my throat up here. That's 3 1.5 inch mesh. I'm going to start right here and start my knots. Just tying a couple regular knots just so I can get started. Right there like so. Okay, so just so everybody knows, I'm going underneath here, through the webbing, around the wire, underneath that loop, or inside that loop underneath, so that my thread ends up on the bottom next to this wire right here. So that's going to be our first one, and you can kind of envision here 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going to go in here. So as long as we keep these in here like that, it's going to come out about right. So we're just going to go right here and catch this one. Just kind of make them even, but we're going to go right there and catch that one. And as I've showed in some of the other net videos, what I like to do, just my personal preference, is at least put 2 ties, one on each side of this knot right here. And that's 1, 2, 3 mesh, so we're right. We just keep rolling like that. So I'm gonna put, these are just hitches. I'm putting one on that side of that knot, one on the other side of it. Just like we tying it in fiberglass hooks. Same way. Just like that. We can slide that a little bit if we go to getting off or whatever. But that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right there. It's gonna be pretty fun deal here to make a net and actually take the one we made and go catch a fish in it and eat supper. All right, guys, I'm all the way back around to where I started, 40 loops. That's our little tagline. We're fixing to tie it together, but I'm gonna tie one more knot right here just so y'all can see what we're doing, how we're doing these hitches. So I've got my needle right here. I'm going through this one, out that one. Then I'm grabbing this line here, the one where the knot is already, just pulling it out like that and running that through, like that right there. And I'm sure there's somebody does that a different way or whatever, you know. I don't know. I'm not going to get all into that, and I'm not getting sophisticated with it. But bottom line is this right here has to be tied together. So you can just pull you a knot, kind of hold your finger on it, whatever. Get you another one and pull that knot like that right there. And then what I normally do, put me like a backing knot right there. Something like that. Right there where that knot won't come undone. I'm gonna get my handy dandy lighter out. Burn that one out of my way. And then I don't want to grab that webbing now. I'm going kind of between the webbing there. And just making me a couple hitches right there just to tie that line back up there out of the way right there. I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna tie a backing knot and burn it. And then I'm done. By the time we dip that, that's not coming loose. Right there. Tie me a backing knot, push that backing knot. If it'll unravel, I'll push that backing knot right up there against that hitch, like that. Burn that. You can shove it back up there with some metal or something. That's it. So that's what our throat's gonna look like. We'll tie the rest of the net out and see how it's gonna pan out. All right, so we don't have to tie on every one of these wires all the way down this net. What we do have to tie is here. We've got to tie here because this is our catch throat right here. And if we don't tie there, we just stretch this tight down here, them fish can get back over that and get out of there. So we're gonna sew this wire right here, this hook in, and then we're gonna sew that very end one down there in, and that's probably gonna be it. So I'll show you right here. We're gonna come down here on this one, the way it's gonna lay out. We wanna stay straight, but you see where the half mesh down here, which is fine. So I'm gonna start right here. Leave me enough tag line to tie on to there in a few minutes. That ought to hold it. So throw me a hitch right there. And all I'm doing with these two knots is centering this square on this rod right there, that center rod right there. Just like that. So then we'll come over here to this one. Make sure I'm not getting that webbing from the throat. Just like that. We're gonna go all the way around this hook, just like we did right there. And technically, the way this should lay out, as you can see where we sewed the throat in, each one of these knots should lay out right in there between those knots. So the way it'll look is just like this. Now if you was using 1¼ inch mesh or something, it might not lay out like this. It might be a knot right here just like it is up here. But this is how this one's laying out. So you just have to see depending on what wire and what size mesh you're using. But that one's gonna work right there for us. Alright, we're tying in our last couple hitches here on this catch throat hook or wire, whatever you want to call it right there. And y'all can see I've got it tied all the way in good, and you can see, man, it's tight. Fish can't get back out of there now. They're gonna be in trouble when they get in there now. So, oh yeah, we're gonna get them. Look at that, perfect. Well, it's looking good. Gonna catch some catfish. That's where we started right there. We're gonna follow this mesh right here all the way down. All right, we're gonna use the way it lays out. You want to pull this netting pretty tight on here, and it's almost a guess down here as to how tight until you pull the whole net around, but I think that's gonna be pretty close to it right there, actually. You're gonna have to work this webbing out a little bit and square it up, because it'll hang on these welds and stuff a little bit, or if you've bent some wire, you're gonna have to square it up too. But you want that net to stretch out tight. So we're doing that by pulling it down pretty tight down here. Couple more little knots here. Now when you get down to this point, what you should see is look how tight that net is stretched over that wire. And it is, and I could have guessed wrong, but I didn't. I mean, we hit it perfect on how tight that needed to be, which set to put it on. You know, if you're get to building a bunch of these or something, then you'll get a pattern to work off of and you'll know exactly what to do. This was a goal to build a long lasting one right here just for the video. One that I can fish for years to come, and kind of experimental in the size and shape and everything. Custom job, this is a custom job, but it's turning out pretty good. I'm happy with it. This thing's gonna catch a lot of fish if a thief don't find it before I do. That'd make me mad. Nothing like a thief to ruin your day. That's our backing knot right there, so none of that comes out. And when that dip hits it, it's there forever. All right, so we got a couple things here. We got the cattle panel. Got number 18 twine. This net should last a long time. Should catch a lot of fish. Look at how that hooker looks now. We ain't quite done yet. We need to see if this is gonna be enough webbing back here, and as it turns out, it actually is. It's gonna be plenty. So we'll put us a drawstring back here. I don't see any problems right there. It's gonna be perfect actually. All right, so what we got here as far as the length of the mash and how many around, this was right at 20-inch diameter. It's 8 squares on the cattle panel. We have a total of, the mesh is 1.5 inches, and I sewed 30 mesh. This is 30 full mesh from all the way this end, all the way to the front of the front throat. 30 total. And this is 10 squares tall. So you can use that right there as a pattern. We'll go back over the throat, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, take up 5, 6, 7 and a half, 7.5 to 8 long on that throat, and 20 around. Up here on the front throat, it's gonna be 40 around. We took up to get this down to 20 on that throat. So this throat's a little bit smaller than this one. And that's the net. We're gonna finish it out, see what it looks like, get some dip on it, go catch some catfish. So we'll put a drawstring in this real quick to hold this. We got some big twine here. This is braid. I think this is a number 48 is what it is. I'm gonna use it for my drawstring. All right, there it is. There's your drawstring. Need to open it up, pull them out. It'll open up. We can cinch it back down. Bring it up here. Tie it up here somewhere. Oh, one more thing, real quick. I designed these and kind of bent on this wire to where y'all see it laying flat, so that throat lays flat. Now watch this. I'm gonna roll it over, so if it hits that side, look there what it did. So you can see I kind of flattened this one section here. So when it hits bottom, it'll actually sit right there and fish right. But just for right now, I'm just gonna tie this drawstring up here out of the way. Just to keep it out of our way and to keep that netting down there tight. It's the only thing we got left is to tie this front throat up here, and we'll be done. All right, guys, we're getting ready to tie this front throat in. I've got my, I double checked, and I've got my throat about the size that I want it. Pretty big catfish go in there. Flathead, blues, channel cats, whatever. But main thing I'm worried about is this taper. I want a pretty good taper on here, and then when they go in here and get to messing around, they kind of bump it and go on through. What we're gonna do, this is, you can see the throat down there is flat. This is top and bottom, or vice versa. What we're gonna do, we're gonna come on these quarter quadrants, and yeah, fancy words, huh? We're gonna catch one of these, and I can't catch the exact center because I wouldn't hit anything there, but I'm gonna catch this one right here. And I'm doubling this loop line and this right back up together, just like we're tying around two of them. And I'm gonna tie my netting knot right there, and I'm gonna cinch that down pretty good right there. Pull a little bit of that slack back out of there, just like that. And I'm gonna come, I want to keep this lined up here to right there, and I'm gonna end up, that's gonna be tied right back out there. But I just need some line out there. I don't want to tie it yet, so I'm gonna cut this or burn this one off and go ahead and put 4 of these strings on there like that. But what I want to do from this point is go, this is 40 meshes, so I want to go over 10. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's going to be 2 of our 4 corners right there. Get me a little slack out here to work with. Come down here like so. And like I said, I'm going to just let that line kind of double up there. Like that. Pinch it down. Tie me a netting knot around them two. Pull it down tight. Make sure I got both of them in there. And you can see there's a little bit of slack down there. I'm just going to kind of cinch that down tight on each side there. And once we get this pulled tight and dipped, that ain't going to go nowhere. Not at all. So yeah. I'm going to come down here. Follow that one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right in here. And tie that one right there. And I'm just gonna pull me off some slack again. Enough to tie that out. This ain't gotta be super sophisticated up here. And you ain't gotta do it the way I'm doing it. You could do it a different way, and that'd be fine, you know, as long as this ends up being square when you get done. All you're doing down here now is just tying a couple hitches. Get this right here. Just pull you a loop like that and work it through there, like that right there. Pull it back through your loop. Just tie you a hitch right there, just like that. And then we'll get the other one the same. About like that. Looks easier than it is. Something like that right there. We get a couple of them. Before we get a bunch of knots tied in it, we'll double check and make sure that we're still good on all 4 corners before we really tie them up good. Pull that just a little bit tighter, and that looks pretty good right there. I don't think no catfish gonna care. So we're gonna tie it off right there. Look at that. Ain't that just pretty? Pretty as can be. All right, all we doing here, we got our front throat fixed. We're just gonna throw about 2 or 3 more hitches down here, tie us a backing knot, and this thing is ready for the dip. We're gonna have one completed ultimate wire net. Look at there. That's it.
Good job.
All right, y'all can check it out. There it is right there. The ultimate wire net. Look at there. Old fish comes in there. Goes right in there like that. He swims around in here. Oh wait, I can't go that way. I'll go this way. There's a hole. And then boom, right on through there. He's stuck. That's it. So there y'all go. There's a look at it. from the front. See the front throat, you can see the taper on it, looks good. See the flat back throat, looks good. That one's ready for the dip. Look, if you hadn't subscribed to the channel already, please do. That helps us out. Get in the comment sections, the likes, shares. Likes, thumbs up, shares, a little arrow button, send it to your buddies. Help us get the channel out there. That's going to be it for this one. God's Country Hunting and Fishing, keeping it real.